Hi everyone, welcome. I'm out here in my yard with a container that I usually use as a transport container, which might give you an idea already as to what we're here for. Usually when we come outside to the outdoor worm bag, and this iteration of it this year is called Outdoor Worm Bag version 6.0. Usually we come out here with some food. We focus only on the outdoor worm bag, but when the compost barrel is also part of the subject matter, usually it means we're in here to recruit worms. And it was 8 days ago when we last came in here to check in on the outdoor worm bag version 6.0 to give them a quick feeding. And it was at that time we deployed a couple of little bait stations to see if we can round up some more volunteers to try to build up the population of our outdoor worm bag. And this doesn't look quite the way it did when we last worked on it together, because I've since done a bunch of weeding and pruning. Well, not real major pruning. For some reason these cucumber leaves were snapped. I don't know if it was like some of the idiot squirrels that like to mess around in my garden sometimes, horsing around and sometimes breaking stuff. So I just had these cucumber leaves hanging off the plant, snapped, still attached but kind of dangling there because they've been snapped. So to get to what we're here for, we're gonna have to do a little excavation. So we used a couple of these little containers that I've used as bait stations in the past. Just trying to think of how to do this easily. There is a lot of material here, but I think we should be able to shove it aside. I did actually come in here after. Oh wow, there's some nice warmth going on here. Something I don't really experience very often in my composting environment, which is typically composting with the worms down in the wormery, is the sensation of things heating up as part of the bacterial breakdown process. As the bacteria starts to come in and try to work down the materials, there is a good amount of heat kicked off sometimes. So it is pretty interesting when you kind of reach in and you feel warmth. So here's one of our bait stations. We came in here with a good amount of leaves. We layered in leaves, and then I think it was cantaloupe and more leaves and maybe cucumber peels and stuff like that. And then I came in later, some stuff that I needed to do away with was what you see piled here on top, which is some it's some prepackaged chestnut, like ground up chestnut puree, I guess is the way to think about it. And what is that? Oh, some sort of other critters in there, not your everyday composting worms. So I guess the reason we're back in here after only 8 days was the concern that possibly our bait stations might have already gotten depleted of the bait that we set out for the worms. So in the hopes that we would get back in here in time to catch a good many worms that have hopefully assembled to take advantage of what's been put in the bait stations, I figured it would be a good idea to... Oh my goodness, I'm not really doing very well here, am I? I kind of thought that I should be able to just knock out the contents of the bait station. I thought it would be chock full of worms coming out for the lovely food and bedding that we set out for them. But I don't really get the sense that we've achieved what we were envisioning here as the outcome. Perhaps they did already come in and nibble up the delicious cantaloupe melon and cucumber peels, if I'm remembering correctly, if that was in fact what we laid out here as bait for them. And perhaps they've just gone about their merry way looking for more stuff. And even some of the leaves, I thought that the leaves we put in here were well enough, you know, dampened thoroughly enough to keep the environment comfortable enough that worms would want to remain. But I gotta be honest with you, I don't think we did very well here today. Perhaps we did just come in here a little bit too late. And you know, I wasn't really planning on resetting here, but you know, as long as we're in here, maybe we can still salvage the effort by kind of digging around where the bait station had been to see if we can maybe encounter a little additional worm action and recruit some wormies. So let's just grab a couple handfuls and leave it at that. So I've already during the initial launch of the outdoor worm bag version 6.0 polled you guys. I did a little opinion poll to see what people thought in terms of how many worms had been launched into the system on its inaugural day. And I'm going to do the same today. I'm going to turn to you guys as the viewers to provide me with your feedback on how many worms you believe we've successfully recruited in order to add them to the outdoor worm bag version 6.0. It seems like we're also including a little bit of bonus bedding here with the worms. And well, I got to admit, I don't think it's a great many, but it's better than nothing, I suppose. I might have to reconsider our technique for setting up bait stations. So I'll take care of cleaning these things up. I don't even know if it's all that important to worry too much about getting this thing backfilled and covered up, because this is really a more or less unmanaged system. So I think we're gonna restore its coverings and even its little decorative wisteria vine wreath and proceed with releasing the worms. So we must have fed coffee recently, because we've got ourselves a feeding zone indicator, which is a little bit of an unusual thing. We don't usually do that out here in the outdoor worm bag. And since only 8 days have passed since we last fed, I suppose it's sometimes interesting to examine the feeding zone to see what kind of a turnout we got and what kind of leftovers we might encounter. Tell you the truth, I don't even remember what we fed last time, but I don't really see anything that resembles leftovers to me. But I also came prepared with a couple things to feed these little guys, and I wasn't quite sure what to select, but one of the things I definitely wanted to get rid of was this. I'll translate gesztenyepuder. That's chestnut paste. So it's a product of Hungary, hence the Hungarian labeling. So I figured we'd give them this. Stuff is sort of been forgotten about and has developed a good bit of mold and other stuff like that. That's why the majority of it ended up in the compost barrel. But I figured I'd hang on to one so we can include it in a feeding for the outdoor worm bag version 6.0. So why don't we treat that as today's feeding that I'll register in our tracking spreadsheet. I'll give this thing a little bit of a till, and perhaps I'll even come back in here before covering up to apply a little bit of moisture, since that's something the worms always like and can make good use of. So I'll hang on to our feeding zone indicator and apply it appropriately. And I can hear power tools. Seems like every time we come out here, it's either garden equipment or power tools or loud birds or loud traffic. So I'm starting to formulate a little bit of an estimate, a number that I think I can put in as my worm count estimate for what we've just added to outdoor worm bag 6.0. So I'm really looking forward to hearing what you guys have to say about that. Please leave me a comment. Let me know how many additional worms you think we just added to the population here. I don't think I've actually finished tallying up the the numbers that people have started contributing in their comments to the initial launch video. So at some point we'll just come up with a sum total of the estimates that were provided for the launch video and the estimates that you guys provide now for this feeding and addition of worms. So that's it for our check-in, everyone, with outdoor worm bag version 6.0, somewhere in that 23-24 day old range, I believe, if my memory serves me correctly. 8 days since we last fed them, getting some chestnuts and some extra worms. So that's it for the video. I got to take care of getting a few things cleaned up and put away over here, but I'm not going to waste your time with that. That's boring. Before I go really quick, let me just say thank you. Thank you so much for watching. Hopefully you enjoyed the video. If you did, as always, please don't forget to leave me a quick thumbs up before you go. That's always really appreciated. And if you haven't done so already, please also consider subscribing to the channel. That's very much appreciated as well. All right, everyone, have a great day. Thanks for watching. Bye now.